Welcome back and thanks so much for staying with Sunrise Live on E! Now, the newest political platform called Economic Freedom Fighters was launched on the 11th of July this year. And the chief commander, or the commander-in-chief of this political platform is Julius Malema, former ANC Youth League president. Now, this political party will be contesting for national elections next year. Talk more on this, we have Julius Malema, commander-in-chief, and political analyst Prince Mashele, or Mashele rather, and you at home are most welcome to give us a call on 011-537-9333 or 9345. Thanks so much, gentlemen, for joining us this morning. Julius, good to have you. How would I address you? Just Commander-in-Chief or my chief?
Anything that makes you comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should be able to address me with it.
Okay, so now you're back in making news headlines, you're back in the political fray. There had been concerns, a little bit of sympathy as well, that you were in the political wilderness and seemingly there was a concerted effort to annihilate you and also render you irrelevant. Is that correct?
I don't know what is political wilderness, because since I left the Youth League, I've been engaged through the Friends of the Youth League. I've been engaged with the workers. There's never been a political lull moment in my life. I've always been active throughout my life. The difference is I was no longer active in the ANC. And I went into agriculture, which is more political because it guarantees food security and food production. So there's never been a political lull in my political career. There's just been political developments and difference of responsibilities.
All right, I understand that you had found time or something useful to do with your time. What I meant is exactly that you weren't involved in political activities that are worthy enough of reporting on.
I was no longer president of the Youth League, but I was politically active. That's why the journalists could come and cover the cabbages that I was producing. That's political activism. So there's never been a point where Julius has not been active in politics, but this time at least not in the politics of the African National Congress.
All right, Prince, you must have heard the murmurings that there would be a political party formed and that Julius Malema was not going to be silenced. So how did you receive the news of the Economic Freedom Front when you first heard of it?
Well, I received it well in the sense that I have always been concerned about the monopoly of one political party in South Africa. It makes our politics boring. As political analysts, we like to observe a political environment that is interesting. So when I heard that Julius would be injecting some new energy into our politics, I was, to be honest, excited that instead of the boring politics of monopoly by one party, the ANC, we are going to have a multiplicity of actors. And I welcome Julius' new party the same way that I welcomed Ahang, for example. So 2014 elections are going to be very interesting. So I think it's a positive development in terms of the vibrance of our politics.
Yeah, I'm curious to find out what the basis of forming the EFF is based on.
It's based on principles of economic freedom. We are the champions of economic freedom in our lifetime. We have identified a generational mission for our generation, and we felt that we need to pursue that generational mission. And when it got suppressed in the ruling party, and when some of us got expelled, we thought we should find an alternative where we would agitate for economic freedom from that alternative. And this is just the platform to do that.
So you're saying while you were the ANC Youth League president that your efforts were stifled in trying to create an environment for economic transformation?
The struggle for economic freedom in the ANC, there were huge attempts to suppress it. And when we were still there, we defeated them. You'll remember when we went to the NGC of the ANC, they said nationalization is not on the table. It will never be on the table. Even when it was on the table, Trevor Manuel and them, very respected leaders of the ANC, kept on saying outside the tent, there is no such a thing. We came out of the conference with such, resolutions on nationalization, but upon realizing that this is unstoppable, they then used other tricks to get rid of such a struggle.
Okay, but just from the constituencies and the voters, in the democratic South Africa, do we have a place for such a deliberately militant voice, if you like, of the EFF, just by the titles alone, Commander-in-Chief, Economic Freedom Fighters, all of that seems very antagonistic. It seems very hard and negative. Prince, is that your perception?
I think there is a market for militants in South African politics. You only need to look at the so-called service delivery protests. There is militancy mixed with violence whenever there are such protests. So I think there is a market for that. What I am not sure of, though, is whether what Julius and his commanders are promising they can deliver on. They talk about economic freedom in their lifetime, and their key message is that of nationalization. I'm not aware of any country in the world that has provided economic freedom in their lifetime on a massive scale in the way in which Julius and his commanders promise South Africans on the basis of nationalization. They also talk about land expropriation without compensation. I mean, you only need to look north of the Limpopo to see the chaos that would bring about. It undermined the food security of Zimbabwe in the first place. And today in South Africa, I mean, South Africa is now, I would argue, two countries in one. We've got millions of Zimbabweans in South Africa today simply because the economic freedom in their lifetime that were promised by Robert Mugabe in the style of Julius Malema did not happen. So they had to escape. So it could be that Julius commanders will have to escape South Africa and go live somewhere for better life. I don't know where they will go.
Okay, we're not banishing them as yet. Let's just quickly take a caller. Fanny, thanks so much for holding. And what's your comment or question?
Johnson, na both Julius, na both Prince, I'm talking. Nola ninavela ku fakanyana rito ka mhaka leyiwani bo Julius va nga yi sungula. I'm happy about him, you know, and I was supporter swinene, and ni nga tsakela ku phati ya vona leyi va nga yi sungula kwalani yi ta hi matimba yi nga fani na leti ti nga sungula like house on fire mara ti hetelela ti collapse easily. So ni nga tsaka loko phati yaleyo yo kota ku va strong yi ta yi ta challenge tiphati leti ti vonaka like yi nga endleleli nchumu. So ni nga tsaka ngopfu loko phati yaleyo yo kota ku huma na something yi ta yi supporta swinene. Julius Malema, go forward, be brave, and then we will be with you, man.
All right, thanks so much, Sunny. Clifford in Stilfontein, hello to you.
Hey, how are you?
Good, thank you. What's your comment or question?
Yes, man. I just want to ask Juju there. Juju, my friend, as much as you have launched your new party, Economic Freedom Fighters, it sounds very clear to me that we're going to deal with nationalization and the future of the youth of South Africa. We have been struggling for many years in South Africa in the presence of African National Congress and other parties outside. So, my friend, I'm saying we are going to support this party if only you promise us, as the youth of South Africa, that we'll be having a bright future after this election. Is it right with you, my friend?
All right, thanks so much, Clifford. I don't know if a promise will pay the bills or whether it can contribute to people's livelihood. Just getting back to what Prince was asking around the nationalization angle and citing the example of Zimbabwe. So how is it going to translate, according to you, in this radical reform that you're calling for?
The nationalization has benefited the people of Venezuela, the people of Chile. The expropriation of land has benefited the people of Zimbabwe. Prince shouldn't talk like they are only Zimbabweans here. There is no Robert Mugabe in Nigeria, but Nigerians are here. There is no Robert Mugabe in London, but the English are here. What are they doing? What brings a common factor in all of them is to search for greener pastures. Zimbabweans, in the next 10 years, they will be the only Africans who are owning their own land, despite the pain they've gone through. Revolution is about pain. You have to go through that pain, and Zimbabweans so far are doing very good. He's not only talking about the negativity in Zimbabwe. Why is he not talking about the tobacco production, which has moved from 4,000 white families to 54,000 black families who are continuing with the production of tobacco in Zimbabwe?
Yeah.
The mining platinum sector has never stopped. They're continuing to produce. Zimplant is continuing to produce platinum. So those Zimbabweans have reclaimed their land. He might have a problem with the method used,
yes,
but they are now in charge of their own land.
I just want to talk about your primary constituents, who you are speaking to, the target audience, and in my opinion would be the disgruntled majority of South Africans. Yes, you make a lot of sense, but I suppose it's the treatment or the approach that people may differ on. But it's largely the disgruntled, unemployed, disenfranchised, marginalized young person who doesn't seem to think there's a silver lining in getting any prospects in this country in terms of the economy. Prince, is that pretty much the sense you get as well?
That is the sense I get. I mean, they are quite clearly targeting the youth, the unemployed, the downtrodden, people who have not benefited from the democratic dividend that has happened in South Africa. So that is the market they are targeting. And I think on the basis of the populist politics that they are selling, and you can hear from radio stations, from television when people call, that there are people who support them. There's no question about it. The question is, will they deliver what they are promising these people?
And we won't know for sure until...
Now, I know that they won't, because in Zimbabwe, for example, I mean, he's painting a rosy picture. The picture is painting is actually not correct. It is true that there is a small circle of the elite in Zimbabwe who have taken over the farm. Those are the farms from white people, and they are black, it is true, and they are producing, it is true. But that has not solved the problem of the majority. The majority have had to flee their country. I mean, life in Zimbabwe is very bad. Actually, he wouldn't want to live there. If he were to live there, he would want to be an elite. He would live well if he were to be an elite. But if you are poor in Zimbabwe, you just have to travel from Musina to Cape Town. There is no part of South Africa that is not populated by Zimbabweans. And by the way, you can't cloud these matters by the fact that we have the English. It is true we have the English, but we have had a wave of Zimbabweans coming to South Africa. There was a time when Zimbabweans were not coming to South Africa. Now, how do you explain this sudden wave of people leaving their country? It is because Mugabe has actually worsened living conditions of Zimbabweans in South Africa, in Zimbabwe. So we must not paint this rosy picture.
No, that's not true.
Please
No,
just hold
that's
the
not
thought. We
true.
really have to take news headlines.
There are
Julius. I'm really
Lesotho people
sorry.
here. Lesotho people, there is no Mugabe in Lesotho.
Yeah.
You know, he must never
My
try
chief, I'm going to have
creating a wrong
we're taking news
picture
headlines
about
at
Zimbabwe
7:30.
because he hates Zimbabwe.
So we'll be back with that discussion. Please hold your response. We'll take a quick ad break. We'll see you shortly.